All right, today we are going to explore how living things survive and change over time. We are going to connect three big ideas you have been learning about, or in seventh grade you've been learning about: body systems, reproduction, and adaptation. By the end of the lesson, you should understand how these ideas are connected and why they help explain how species survive generation after generation. So, this is your 6-7 review. I want you to think about this question: how do living things survive long enough to pass their traits to the next generation? All right, your goals for this review. You're going to review how human body systems work together, compare sexual and asexual reproduction, explain natural and artificial selection, and then you're going to preview how variation in traits help organisms survive over time. So that is your 8th grade TEK that you will learn this time. And everything we discussed today connects directly to what you will learn about coming up. So your 8th grade TEKs. Why body systems matter. Body systems are like teams working together to keep organisms alive. Think about this. What happens if one system fails? For example, if your lungs stop working, can your circulatory system still deliver oxygen? Survival depends on these systems working together, and organisms must survive long enough to reproduce if their species is going to continue. Circulatory and respiratory systems. These two systems work together to deliver oxygen and nutrients and remove waste gases like carbon dioxide. Oxygen helps cells release energy from food. Without oxygen, cells cannot function properly. Organisms can efficiently deliver oxygen, often have better endurance. This can help them escape predators, hunt, or survive in challenging environments. Why might animals that run faster have an advantage? Think about that. Skeletal and muscular systems. These systems allow movement, provide protection, and give the body structure. Movement helps organisms escape predators, catch food, find shelter, and find mates. Organisms that move efficiently often have better chances of survival and reproduction. Digestive and urinary systems. The digestive system breaks down food into nutrients and energy, and the urinary system removes waste and keeps the body balanced. Organisms that use energy efficiently can grow, heal, and reproduce more successfully. Nervous and endocrine systems. These systems control communication within the body and help organisms respond to their environment. The nervous system sends fast signals. The endocrine system sends slower chemical messages using hormones. Quick reactions can help organisms avoid danger or respond to environmental changes. The immune and integumentary system. These systems protect organisms from disease and injury. The immune system fights infections. The integumentary system includes skin, hair, and nails that act as physical barriers. Organisms that resist disease often live longer and have more opportunities to reproduce. The reproductive system. The reproductive system allows organisms to produce offspring. This is important because reproduction passes traits from parents to offspring. These traits help determine how well offspring survive. All right, part 2, reproduction and variation. Asexual versus sexual reproduction. So let's compare 2 types of reproduction. Asexual reproduction has one parent. The offsprings are identical, and it happens quickly. Sexual reproduction has 2 parents. Offspring have genetic variation, and it produces a lot of diversity. Diversity is important because different traits can help populations survive environmental changes. Why genetic variation matters. Variation means individuals in a population have different traits. Some traits help organisms survive better than others. When environments change, variation gives populations a better chance of survival. Variation is the starting point for adaptation, which is what your TEK will be for 8th grade. Plant and animal examples. Starfish can reproduce asexually by regeneration. Mammals reproduce sexually, creating varied offspring. Plants can reproduce using runners or pollination, so they can reproduce asexually or sexually. So which type of reproduction might help a species survive environmental change better, and why? Think about that. All right, natural selection. Natural selection happens when traits that help survival become more common over generations. Examples include camouflage, helping organisms hide, beak shape, helping birds access food, thick fur, helping animals survive cold environments. Organisms with helpful traits are more likely to survive and reproduce. Kind of the theme here. Artificial selection happens when humans choose traits in plants and animals. So examples include breeding dogs for certain features, like a Labradoodle. Those are pretty popular dogs right now. Or growing crops with specific traits. So having seedless grapes. Human influence which traits are passed on. So artificial is when humans have a say in what traits go on. All right, variation within populations can lead to adaptations. Adaptations can be structural, which are physical features, behavioral, which are actions or habits, and physiology. Why can't I say that word? Physiological. Hold on. Physiological. I had to practice it a couple of times. All right. Which are internal processes. That's a hard word to say. Adaptations help organisms survive in their environment. So this is your 8th grade TEK that we will be getting into. Survival and reproductive success. Organisms with helpful traits usually live longer, reproduce more, and pass traits to offspring. Over many generations, populations change. So it's not like they just wake up and they're like, you know what? I can be green because I'll blend in better. That's not how that happens. And we'll get more into that when we actually talk about adaptations. Real world examples. A peppered moth color change. Antibiotic resistant bacteria. And Darwin's finches. And we are going to go over the peppered moth when we get into adaptations. Antibiotic resistant bacteria is why when you get antibiotics from the doctor, it usually has a set number of days, like 7 days or 10 days, and they tell you to finish them even if you're feeling better. Because if you don't, then that bacteria can adapt to the antibiotics, and then it becomes resistant to the antibiotics. So the next time that you get that bacteria, the antibiotics aren't going to work on that, and you'll have to get a stronger dose of antibiotics. All right, so putting it all together, your body systems are needed for survival. Reproduction gives you trait variation. Selection is a type of adaptation. Adaptation gives you species survival, so it increases species survival over generations. So again, adaptations don't happen overnight, so that's important. And then finally, I want you to think about these questions. Why do organisms need functioning body systems to evolve? Why is variation important? And how does selection change populations?